walking through a ghost town. Y'all ain't playing my sounds. Don't tell me to calm down. Don't tell me to calm down. Only time I go backwards is when I wanna moonwalk. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. Don't test me, my mood's wrong. We are who we say that we are. You were lost in the stars, and it's all from the start. Never running no pace, never on the right page. But we still read that book, and we still run that race. Ay. Mississippi Racer riding out, no shortcuts, no time for that. Mississippi Racer riding out till the wheels fall off, I'm driving that. Mississippi Racer riding out, we'll stop burning, strike the match. Mississippi Racer riding out, red light, green light, red light, good night. Ay. Red light, green light, red light, good night. 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 Time to chill, don't sweat it.
I don't know if you can hear me. I can't hear you. Yeah, I still can't hear you. Yeah, I got nothing. No, no sound.
How about now?
There you are. We're back.
What up, Mo? What up?
What's good, man? What?
Let's do that again. Welcome to Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire to Wire Network. Thank you so much for making us part of your morning routine. I appreciate all of you being here, whether you're live on YouTube, live on Facebook, maybe you're live over on Roku TV. Thanks to the fine folks over at Northeast Sports Productions. We are also live on TikTok this morning. First time that we have gone live on TikTok. So we have that happening in front of us right now. So make sure you check that out. But Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
I'm doing great on a hump day. Just excited. So many things going on in the world of sports. Let's get into it.
Mo, we're going to start with this. So the Dallas Cowboys apparently are interested in potentially drafting a quarterback in the upcoming NFL draft. Obviously, this is a contract year for Dak Prescott. There was a lot of talk about whether or not Dak was going to get a contract extension or a new deal heading into this season. It still could happen, but it is looking more and more like that is not going to be the case, especially after Jerry Jones' comments a few weeks ago, where he basically acknowledged the fact of, we know Dak's situation with his contract. We are aware of the cap hit. And basically he said it is what it is as far as Dak's contract situation goes. Basically letting us know that there ain't no real rush, it would seem, Mo. So when you take the it is what it is spin, and then you look at that and you maybe draft a quarterback in the draft during this upcoming draft. And then you look at the fact that it is Dak's technically his last year of his current deal, and he could become a free agent heading into next season. Mo, do you look at that and do you say to yourself, this could be something? It's definitely not nothing, right?
No, it's not nothing. And look, I would say this about Dak Prescott and his relationship with the Cowboys. I think they think they've put him in the best situation for success. What I would say is I think Dak Prescott has proven himself to be one of the 10 best quarterbacks in football. I guess the real question is, can he take them to that next level? The Cowboys have had a level of success with Dak, but the ceiling, it hasn't been as high as they've projected. Now, that's not all on him, obviously, because if you saw how the defense faltered late in the season, it is a team sport. Having said that, though, I think it's interesting that they're open to the idea of not only drafting a quarterback. I'm curious, though, you're interested in drafting a quarterback, but you did trade for Trey Lance. Like, what does that say about Trey Lance if you're looking to draft a quarterback? Because if you're looking to groom a guy for the future, wouldn't he be that player? And look, if they move on from Dak Prescott, what I can say about this is there will be no shortage of suitors for Dak Prescott going forward. That's what I believe. So I think this is something.
Mo, you bring up a great point about Trey Lance. Obviously, we don't think necessarily that Trey Lance is going to be a franchise. At least I don't think he's going to be a franchise quarterback. As a 49ers fan, I feel like
Trust me.
you are probably in the same boat that he isn't going to be a franchise quarterback. But that doesn't change the fact that you brought Trey Lance over. So at some point, you would have to imagine you might want to see what that looks like. And maybe they have. Maybe they've seen what he's doing in practice. Maybe they've kind of got a look at him and they've confirmed that, this isn't really what we were thinking we were going to get,
Right.
kind of thing. No big deal. Doesn't really hurt us at all. He could still potentially be a backup. And maybe they've already kind of made up their mind on what Trey Lance is or isn't. Or maybe it's going to be kind of a open competition, if you will. Maybe they're going to bring in a rookie quarterback and they're going to have Trey Lance and they're going to say, hey, this could be it moving forward. Mo, do you see a world next season where Dak isn't the Cowboys quarterback?
I don't. I do think he'll be their quarterback next season, but I think it's going to be a lame duck season. I think Jerry Jones is saying it is what it is. I think he, along with his son Steven, are thinking we're on Dak instead of where most people would go. Well, we got Josh Allen, or we got Patrick Mahomes, or we got Lamar Jackson. We need to get this guy locked up. I think the Cowboys management is of the mindset wait and see, right? Wait and see. I want to see what he does. I want to see how the season unfolds. And I can understand that, but that's if you consider yourself a franchise quarterback, that's not really the love that you're looking for. But I will say this also: if you keep paying Dak, and obviously the guaranteed money will keep going up, at some point you reach that ceiling where if we keep paying this guy, we're going to lose 2 or 3 other guys because we can't pay everybody. Like once you get into that cycle where you've got to constantly you know, pay your quarterback and that window, and I honestly, the window that they had with Dak, that sweet spot, I think that's come and gone. So more and more he becomes almost like an anchor, and you're looking at the numbers look good, but the ceiling doesn't align with what the money that he's looking for. You're looking to get to the Super Bowl. That if you're the Dallas Cowboys, you're looking to be in the Super Bowl. And I'm not saying Dak's not good enough. I think he's good enough to get you to the Super Bowl, but sometimes it's not meant to be, right? Sometimes it's not in the cards. The Niners are a better football team. Right now, I think the Detroit Lions are a better football team. Even with their struggles last season, I believe the Philadelphia Eagles are a better football team. So when you think big picture about where we're at and what we're competing for, the Cowboys are competing for their division, but they're not competing for the conference, and that's the big goal. That's the goal.
No, 100%. And I agree with you. If I don't see a world where Dak's not the quarterback next season, pending a catastrophic injury or pending a really bad season. And I'm not talking like a 9-8 season where they just missed the playoffs. I'm talking like a 4-win season where Dak has 15 or 16 picks. He doesn't get hurt. He plays all season, but just looks terrible, which I don't think would ever happen. But that would be the only situation. But Mo, we know what this team is. Pencil them in for 10, 11, 12 wins. That's what you're going to get with the Dallas Cowboys and Dak Prescott as long as he's healthy. And then we get to the playoffs and the questions come up every year. Will this be the year they win another game in the playoffs? Will this be the year they finally get to an NFC championship game? Will this be the year they make a Super Bowl appearance? That's what you ask the Cowboys every year. It's no longer will they make the playoffs. It's will those 10, 11, 12 wins be enough to win the division? Can they get some home games? And if not, what does that look like once the playoffs begin? Because we saw last season, Mo, even when things kind of did work your way with the home games, it still wasn't the result you wanted.
Correct. And look, it's interesting. I don't want to get too far off track, but there's the scrutiny of Dallas, even though I'm not a Cowboy fan, the scrutiny is very unique. The same with Dak Prescott, if you're the Dallas Cowboy quarterback, because easily, if we went over to the AFC and we're just talking big picture, doesn't it seem like Lamar Jackson skates away from that same kind of crew? So I'm just saying, I don't want to get into a whole thing about the Ravens, but I'm just saying that his overall success is it much better than Dak's? I know he's a two-time MVP, but the bigger picture is they haven't won anything in the Lamar Jackson era, and they just came off having one of their greatest regular seasons. He won another MVP, and we all know how that finished out. Again, I don't want to get into the Ravens thing. I just think that it's interesting that Dak has always seemed to he always seems to be under a scrutiny times 10, and there's other guys who haven't done a lot more overall, and they seem to skate away from that.
Fun thing, we're going to talk a little more about Lamar Jackson later on the show, but right now we're going to jump over to the NBA, which means that we're going to welcome Will onto the show. Will, how's it going this morning, sir?
How you doing, gentlemen? Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Will.
How you doing?
Will, great to have you on the show. We got a lot to get into, so let's jump right into it. Let's start with the injury scare that happened in the NBA last night. They thought it might be an Achilles for Giannis. That ends up not being the situation. But, Will, it's a calf strain. And I know what Milwaukee fans are thinking this morning. They're feeling good that it's not an Achilles. But, Will, you know that calf strains are not a let me ice it for a day or two and I'm good to go. Calf strains linger. Calf strains take a minute. The playoffs are right around the corner. The Bucks are already struggling as it is with Giannis out there healthy, playing well. What does that look like for the Bucks going into the first round of the playoffs as we wrap up the season? If he has to miss maybe a game or two, maybe the entire series, who knows? It could be a couple-week process here.
It doesn't look very good for them to be without Giannis for any length of time, really. Look, you said it a few minutes ago. They're struggling with him being healthy. And they could be prime right for an upset if they don't have him. I mean, let's go back. The Heat beat them with a healthy Giannis. So you know, it just looks bad, and it's even to add one more layer of concern for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Mo, that's the last thing you need as a Bucks fan as you finish off the season, because your seeding isn't even locked in. You're only a game ahead of a couple teams behind you trying to chase you down for the second seed. So if you lose your last couple of games, you could end up third or fourth in the conference, which is going to change your first round matchup, make your life a little more challenging. And if you're without Giannis for any stretch in the playoffs, you don't want that either. Mo, is this the reality of they're probably going to have a first round exit?
My guess is, I honestly, fellas, coming into this as we end the playoffs or in the regular season, I thought they might potentially be a first round exit with him 100% healthy. They just struggle defending in all areas, especially at the point of attack, because they are, and I keep pointing this out, they're the least athletic team in the NBA. Take Giannis out of the equation, and they have no athletes. They have no quickness on the perimeter, and they struggle. They're an older, slower team, and a calf tear, a bruised calf, however you want to describe it, it's one of those kind of injuries. It can linger, or it could get worse if you try to like press it. And I didn't even imagine them going into the playoffs, Will, without Giannis. I thought, okay, they're stumbling into the playoffs. And here we go. Last couple of games of the season, he goes down. If he goes down, they go down that much faster. Like they if he's not in the playoffs, obviously they're a first round exit, and they might have been with him in a weird way. Look, as a fan, you don't want to see a guy like Giannis go down. But if it's an injury that's just going to keep him out for the playoffs in some way, does it not sum up their season? Everything that happened with Adrian Griffin. Then they bring in Doc Rivers. Everything, they've been a 500 team or slightly below 500 since having Doc Rivers. And then Giannis goes down. This is almost par for the course. And sometimes the karma gods, they come around in strange ways, because suddenly Coach Bud looks really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
Really good.
Oh, yeah. Like I say, I'll always sit here and say you should never got rid of Coach Bud. Another thing I want to bring up, too, with Giannis being out, you're depending more on Bobby Portis. And I don't know if Bobby Portis can take or can step up to the challenge. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong, but to fill Giannis's shoes for everything that Giannis brings you, that's a lot.
And like I just mentioned, Will, right now the Bucks are the 2 seed. The Knicks are 1 game behind them, and then the Magic and the Cavs are 2 games back. Talk to me a little bit about the Cavs, Will. They've lost 3 in a row. Currently the 5 seed. They are only the 5 seed by half a game. The Pacers are right behind them. Definitely not trending in the right direction for a team that many thought heading into the playoffs this year had a chance to maybe make a surprise run, maybe end up in the Eastern Conference Finals on the other side of the Boston Celtics. And then once they're there, who knows what happens as far as matchups and maybe a surprise upset of the Celtics. But you watch them over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and you're like, there's definitely some chinks in the armor of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Are they in the same spot right now that you thought they were in maybe a month and a half ago?
No, and I'm looking really, and I know I'm going to speak out of turn on this. Some people might have some issues with it, but I sort of kind of like Indiana a little bit more than I do the Cavs right now. They're younger. They're a little bit younger. They can run the floor. They can space really well. So I like the Pacers over them. I still think the Cavs are a good team, but what Donovan Mitchell was out the other day, and I don't know if he's 100% healthy, which I think would be the main catalyst for Cleveland having issues. So without a healthy Donovan Mitchell, and with the way Indiana can run the floor and put pressure on you in transition, I'm sort of kind of liking the Pacers better than them right now.
And if we look at the other side, gentlemen, the Lakers and the Warriors had a pretty big matchup last night as far as positioning in the play-in goes. Obviously, if the Lakers had won that game, they would help their cause to maybe get out of the play-in or at least be at the top of the play-in. That wasn't the case, which means the play-in is very tight right now. The Pelicans are the only team that could potentially drop into the play-in. They have a game up on the Suns right now, 2 on the Kings, 2.5 on the Lakers, and 3 on the Warriors. But Will, it's 2 games from the Suns in the 7 seed to the Warriors in the 10 seed. These are the 4 teams that are most likely going to be the play-in. What do you make of these 4 teams? 2 of them are obviously going to come out of it. But do you think any of these 4 teams can go on a run, being the Suns, the Kings, the Lakers, and the Warriors?
Maybe the Kings and maybe the Warriors. Steph and Clay played well last night. You got a decent performance out of Wiggins last night. I like the Kings for everything that they bring to the table too. It's something about the Suns just puts me off. It's like they can get into a good rhythm, a good stretch, and all of a sudden injuries pop up. Somebody gets hurt, and that derails them. Plus, their roster construction is just weird. So yeah, I look at the Kings to really do something out of that too. Maybe, yeah, the Kings would be the team that I would look for, because I think they bring a little bit more talent to the table.
Mo, Suns, Kings, Lakers, Warriors, 2 are coming out of the group. Obviously, of the 4, who has the best chance to make a run?
I would go Lakers, Warriors, because when the Lakers are whole, Golden State can't beat them. They don't have an answer for Anthony Davis. They would just dominate them. They're already small. They would just make them smaller. That the matchups favor the Lakers. They're the best team of that group, and if they were to get into the right spot, we've already discussed this. 2 matchups that favor them when you're looking at the top seeds. I don't think Oklahoma City wants to see LA. They don't want to see them. And I don't think Minnesota, even with Ant playing the way he is, because they're not whole minus Cat, they don't want to see the Lakers. So I think the Lakers, to me, are the one that's primed to make a deep run. They have the size. They have enough depth and shooting. I think they're a problem for 2 of the top seeds. If they don't have to see the Nuggets, I think the Lakers are in play to beat anybody not named Denver.
I just think that if you go back and look at the season and how this progressed, the Kings have given the Lakers a huge problem, particularly Anthony Davis. at that center spot. So I think that's advantage Kings right there. Now everybody else, I agree with you. But I just think the Kings, they sort of kind of have the Lakers numbers. If you look at it through this regular season, the win-loss record, if you look at it, I think it favors Kings if memory serves. So I think if you cross the Kings, if you cross the Nuggets, I think that's where the Lakers will really have problems.
Sure, I agree with that. And look, a lot of people don't know this, but since January the 30th, Golden State's had the second best record in the league.
Yep.
That people don't realize that they've actually pulled themselves together. There's more continuity in their rotations. They're competing harder on defense. Wiggins seems to have found himself again. Kuminga's played well. Draymond is behaving for what it's worth. Clay has found his role, and in his new role, he has starred in his new role.
Yep.
So, like I said, I'm going to always give the Warriors a puncher's chance. And last night's game versus the Lakers, that's a great example of what they can be. When the ball is moving and they're shooting like that, they could compete with anybody.
My only concern with the Warriors is Draymond, because Draymond's playing, well, and then all of a sudden, and it's a playoff game, he's playing well, and all of a sudden he does something stupid and gets ejected. That's my only issue with the Warriors, because he's such a catalyst for them. Well, he wouldn't be for someone else. He's such a catalyst for them to do what they do offensively. So it would be kind of a concern for me to see him in the playoffs. He does something stupid, does something dirty, and then bam, he's out the game. I hope that doesn't happen, but it could.
Well, I'm a Laker fan, so I'm okay with that.
Well, you take a look at the Eastern Conference, and the 76ers are surging as the season's coming to a close. They've won 6 in a row with a couple of games to go. They're only a game out of the 6th seed behind the Indiana Pacers. It is very possible they could avoid the play-in altogether. Let's say they finish 6 or 7, whether it's the top seed in the play-in or the bottom seed in the actual playoffs, while they wait for the play-in to finish out. Where are we projecting the 76ers? Are things kind of back on track, and as long as they're in the playoffs, they're going to kind of, the cream rises to the top situation? Or are you concerned as the playoffs get going for a team that was projected to be the second or third best team in the East behind Boston?
I'm sort of kind of changing gears on the 76ers just a little bit. They've been playing well since Embiid's been back. So if Embiid can stay healthy, I sort of because when you look at the East, there's I trust nobody in that East, to be honest with you. I don't trust Boston. I don't trust Milwaukee. I trust nobody. So saying that, they could make the Eastern Conference Finals. If Embiid can stay healthy, Maxey keeps doing his thing, Eastern Conference Finals.
And Mo, if you look at it on paper, take in consideration what's happening to Milwaukee right now, you could legitimately say that they are the second best team on paper in the Eastern Conference.
No, I'm in agreement with you and Will. Look, when Embiid's healthy, remember, they were the second or third best team in the league. He was going to be MVP. He was running away with the MVP. So the fact that they have him back, like I said, it puts everybody in their proper role. Maxey is elite as a number 2 right now.
Yep.
It puts a guy like Buddy Hield in play, because now the floor spacing is there because of his shooting ability. Tobias Harris is better because now he's the third or fourth option like he should be. So I thought before Giannis was injured, if they matched up against Philly, I thought Philly would beat Milwaukee. I just did. I think top to bottom, they're just a better overall basketball team. And so I'm with you. I think Philly, it would not shock me to see them in the Eastern Conference Finals, because, like you said, and that's a key word we can lead with. If they have a healthy Embiid, I can see them in the Eastern Conference Finals.
I mean, and I still think, like I said, I trust no one. Gene said that he's think that they might have an Eastern Conference Finals loss to Boston. I don't know if they lose to Boston. I don't
know. I actually think Boston is Philly's kryptonite. It
could be.
What Philly needs is for somebody to knock Boston off. I think Boston is a bad matchup for Philly, but anybody else throw in Cleveland, they're a bad matchup. Philly would eat them alive. Cleveland's roster construction is jacked up. since he's been back, Donovan Mitchell has been laboring. You can tell he's not 100%. Can't beat anybody off the dribble. Can't finish at the rim. And they have bad spacing again because when you have Evan Mobley and Allen on the floor, and they're both restricted area players in the sense of their range, you have horrible spacing. I just think Cleveland's roster construction is off, and they don't really have enough shot creators on that roster. When people go, is Donovan Mitchell going to come back and sign that extension? It literally is dependent on how deep their run goes in the playoffs, and I don't think it's going to be very deep.
I agree. But I wouldn't put. But we've seen crazier things happen in the NBA, fellas. And if Philly can get past Boston, it wouldn't shock me. I agree with Gene. Gene said Boston's best team of basketball. Yeah, but we've seen crazier things happen in the league, particularly with two teams that can play the way they play. So yeah, I won't be shocked if the 76ers get past Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals.
And Boston is the best team in basketball, but we all know that sometimes the magician himself, Jason Tatum, likes to pull his disappearing act late in playoff games. Oh, yeah. And if that happens a couple of times in a series against Philly, they're not going to win that series. So we'll have to see what the magician does.
That's why I say, in the East, I trust nobody because anything can happen. But these teams are so close, I don't trust anybody.
Well, defensive player of the year, are you leading Gobert or Wemby?
I hate Gobert. I really do hate Gobert.
He plays good defense.
Strong.
I hate Gobert. I just think he's the softest big man I have ever seen in my life. I like Wemby. I like everything he does for you on both sides of the floor. So with my personal animus in play, yeah, I probably gotta go with Gobert. But I don't like it. But I just can't stand Gobert. I can't stand him. I get what he does for Minnesota. I understand it. Good defender, down low. Doesn't give me much on the offensive side of the ball, but he can rebound. He's a shot blocker. I get all that. He's just soft to me.
Mo, Gobert or Wemby?
So before the season started, I thought Wemby is going to lead the league in block shots. He's doing just that.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm going to choose between the two, I'm actually going to choose Wemby. And I know that he's on a team that's not very good, but I'm looking at what Gobert does for Minnesota. He does have a role with the Timberwolves, and obviously they're at worst the second best team in the West. But I'm more impressed with Wemby is not just blocking shots, Chris. He's getting out in space and guarding wing players. And his ability to play in space makes him completely unique. He can run down a wing player that blows by him. Gobert could never do that. So do I think Gobert's going to win it? Yeah, he's probably gonna win it, but I would pick Wemby because I know what I see.
He's one of the softest big men in NBA history. I'll be doggone you, Draymond go choke me up, and then you get mad as he walks off the floor like he's gonna do something. Okay. No, that couldn't have been me. I would have got ejected for the season.
Will, he's French. Come on.
That's true. That's true too.
He's a lover, not a fighter. Come on, guys.
Exactly. Come on, man.
Will Billy Donovan? He's safe.
He need to go.
No, he's safe. They said he's not going.
Listen, I don't know if it's a combination of him or the Bulls front office, but I don't understand what they're looking at in terms of roster control. I don't get it. Kobe White, yeah, you've come up and you stepped up. DeMar DeRozan has been great, but Vucevic has been all right. He's been decent this season, but he shouldn't be safe. Look, you've needed a point guard since Lonzo went down. You've had a chance to draft one of the last two drafts, and you haven't done it. And again, shout out to Kobe White. I'll give him his props, but this team is real devoid of a point guard. And until they get that point guard, until they get that point man that can help them run the offense, bring the ball up, and get everybody set in their spots, they're not going to be a very good basketball team. They're going to be right where they're at, a 9th, 10th seed. Not good enough to make any noise, but not bad enough to get your number one draft pick. So he shouldn't be safe. He needs to go. You can't underperform this long and have your job being safe. You can't. That wouldn't fly anywhere else.
And two of their three best players are in their early 30s.
Yep.
DeRozan and Vooch, they're not getting any younger. Even though they've played well, they're not getting any younger. They're not part of your future. If you have to look future when you're the Bulls. I think Kobe White is a piece for the future, but if you look at that roster top to bottom, there's like two, maybe Patrick, but the rest of that roster, you need to blow that up.
You do.
They need a legit fresh start, because right now they're in NBA purgatory. Not bad enough to be in the lottery, not good enough to make the playoffs. That's awful.
And they haven't made any significant trades on that team in like the last 2-3 seasons. If you go back and look at it.
Well, you know why? The other teams look at their roster and go, "Yeah, I don't want any of that. I don't want any of that.
Trash. Don't want any of these Asian veterans that might last maybe a season or two with me. You know they're gonna let Kobe. You know they won't let Kobe White go. So, or Zach LaVine. Well, they might let Zach LaVine go, but then again, he's always hurt. So it's just frustrating as a Bulls fan. Life is hard.
And it's a team that's 5 games under 500, 25 games out of first place in their conference.
Chris,
but he's safe. He's safe. He's safe.
Is that safe anywhere else?
No.
Anywhere else is not safe.
No.
The only coach I know with a record like that can be safe is because of past performances. Pop would be safe because of his past performances. Not this dude. No. He should be gone.
I was shocked when they said that he's safe. I'm like, really? With that resume?
Resume.
Wow.
With that resume.
Listen, he clearly has something on someone, guys. That's
all
it is.
He got some pictures of somebody somewhere. He got some pictures or something. I don't know what it is. He's got some outside forces working for him or something. I don't know, but the man needs to go. And I might necessarily, I don't like to see nobody being fired. But at the same point, when you've come up short each and every year of your tenure, you need to go.
Sometimes we say players need new scenery. Billy Donovan just needs new scenery. That's all, guys.
College. He needs to go back
he
to
needs
college.
to go back to college. That's where he need to go. He should have looked at that Kentucky job. That's what he should have did. That's what he should have done. Look at Kentucky. There you go.
Well, before we get you out of here, reports have come out of Atlanta that this is not going to be the same team next season. Trae Young could be on the move out of there. DeJounte Murray could be on the move out of there. They both could be on the move out of there. Reports in Atlanta say that they are definitely going to be trading one of those, if not both. Obviously, you look at this team and you think, oh my God, they're going to trade one of, or if not two of the biggest names in that team but they're 36 and 43 with those guys on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously, if they trade one or both, you're going to go from a bad team to probably a terrible team.
Lottery.
But what does that look like as far as where their stars could be playing next season?
I would love to see Trae. I would love to see Trae as a Laker. I really would love to see him as a Laker. But my call for pause on that, while he would be an offensive threat, another offensive scorer, he's a walking turnstile on defense. So that's something that you would definitely have to cover up. Javonte, I've never been a Javonte Murray fan per se. But yeah, he can go, I don't know. He can't come to Chicago, I know that, but we can put him on we can take him up to the Wizards and let him take Jordan Poole's spot. So yeah, I just Atlanta's gonna be a lottery team without both of those guys. And that's their future. And it's a damn shame because before they did that with trade, it was somewhat successful in the early going ons. But now you look at them, you got to blow up that team and start over.
No, you don't want Trae Young in LA?
You don't want Trae in LA, man?
No, because Will's talking about that he's a poor defender. Yeah, he's a god awful defender. But that's one element. Remember what he is. Look at his skill set. He's a ball dominant offensive player.
And this is true.
What is LeBron James? A ball dominant offensive player.
Well, hold on.
Trae Young does not play well without the ball in his hands.
But hold on.
The only difference between Trae Young and Russell Westbrook is Trae Young can actually make a shot. He can shoot.
But hold on. If you listen to rumor that LeBron won't sign back that extension after the year, do you like that better?
You mean if LeBron's leaving the Lakers?
Yeah, if he leaves the Lakers, do you like that better?
Sure. I'm good.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. The mission is accomplished. LeBron came to LA. Jeannie wanted another ring. He did that. He made them relevant again.
Mm-hmm.
He won a ring. In a perfect world, I think she got greedy, thought they could get 2 or 3. That's not going to happen. But he got 1 ring. The mission accomplished. As far as I'm concerned, though, if you look at the returns now on the back end of his time with the Lakers, when you have 2 top 10 players and you're in the 9th and 10th spot,
what does that say about you as an organization?
Right.
Yeah.
But what does it say about you two as being a star? Like, I get it. We keep marveling that he's putting up these numbers,
right?
But they're not having impacts on wins and losses. It's time for him to move on. It's time for the Lakers to literally rebuild. That run is over.
Are you keeping Anthony Davis too? You let him go as well?
Nah, he can go too. He can go.
Mr. Glass, boy, Mr. Street Clothes is back again.
Let's get him good. Let's get him good and healthy and move him on.
With that being said, he's going to hurt himself in the playoffs. He's going to lose all trade value.
Just my luck.
He got hurt earlier this year. He was playing himself in the video game. He got hurt in the video game. I'm like, bro, really?
Will, always a pleasure having you on each week, sir. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good day.
You too.
So you just want to blow the whole thing up over there, huh?
I mean, so next year he'll be 40. I'm sure he'll put up good numbers. AD is terrific as a sidekick, but terrific to what point? They're in the 9th and 10th spot. Like,
but they could draft Bronny.
So still be in the 9th and 10th spot. That's what that would be.
Mo, we have Caleb Williams doing some Caleb Williams things. So apparently there is this narrative out there. I haven't heard this narrative, but apparently it exists. There is this narrative out there that Caleb Williams has never gone through adversity. So one of the things you talk about as a quarterback who is coming into the NFL is what did they face in college? Because if they were able to overcome in college, that could benefit them based on where they go in the NFL. Let me give you an example. Alabama quarterbacks, generally speaking, don't have to overcome much in college football. They are blessed with usually terrific offensive lines, great defenses, playmakers on offense all over the place. So when it comes to having to overcome things as an Alabama quarterback, your definition of overcoming probably comes during the playoff when you're playing against other quality high-tier teams. So maybe once a season, maybe twice a season, you have a challenging game where you have to overcome something. Whereas if you're Josh Allen, for example, and you played in Wyoming, you had a lot of adversity to overcome because you were the best player on the team. There wasn't much else around you to talk about. And every game, you were playing teams that were either as good as you or better than you. So when you look at adversity when it comes to talent you're playing and whatnot, I feel like there is something to that. Mo, we're going to jump back into the conversation we had about a month ago, which was there's going to be moments when you're Caleb Williams where you're going to make choices where I'm going to look at it and I'm going to talk to you about it. And I'm going to say, man, I wish he had an agent. I wish he had someone who knew what they were doing in regards to his persona and how he's being perceived in the world, because he has a dad and his dad has like a best friend that's been with Caleb since middle school, and they're his people and they're in charge of representing him. And so this adversity narrative starts going. So what does Caleb do? He goes to social media to address it, Mo. And this is what he says. He says, let's go back to school again because I'm bored right now. Then he gives you the definition of adversity. Adversity is a state or instance of serious or continued difficulty or misfortune. And then he highlights himself. Year 1, didn't start as a freshman. Year 2, popped my hammy. Championship game first quarter. Lost because of my hammy. Year 3, 7-5 my last year of college ball. Mo, it's not adversity.
It's unfortunate, but it's not adversity.
It's not adversity. Maybe the injury was a little bit of adversity in there.
Yeah.
You not starting your freshman year, you weren't good enough.
It just means you weren't good enough, right? That's not. I don't think that's adversity.
You going 7-5 your third year. You didn't play well. Your team wasn't that great. It's not really adversity, Mo.
And did you really face adversity? Because you went 7-5, but they still project you to be the number 1 pick.
Right.
Right. What adversity? Who goes 7-5 and goes, that guy should be number 1? Like, I don't think you're faced a lot of adversity.
It's again, I feel like if he had a people who knew about this arena of life, Mo, someone might have said, hey, let's not do that. How about we just ignore it? Because there's a lot of narratives. Mo, there's a narrative that Jaden Daniels has like a robot freak elbow because there was a weird picture of his elbow.
I've actually heard that.
There's a lot of narratives out there. You are projected to be the number 1 pick. I'm sure you have had conversations with who's drafting you. You know where you're most likely going. Just let it go, Mo. Let it go.
Yeah, I really, what he really needs, and we've talked about this before, is he needs a professional team. He needs an agent. He needs an advocate. He needs a spokesperson to handle those kind of things for him in a professional manner, where he doesn't feel the need to respond all the time. Look, you're going to be the quarterback for the Chicago Bears. They've even made some trades to try to set your rookie year up for success. I'm not sure why you're engaging in social media wars. It's not necessary. And the truth of the matter is, when you're as big as he is in terms of his name recognition, you can't win a social media battle. No. And the fact that you respond to it means the other guy's winning.
Correct. Like we talked about the other day, the Masters is happening this weekend. Is happening tomorrow, Mo. Tiger starts at 1:24 p.m. tomorrow. Some of the featured groupings, if you are a big golf fan tomorrow, Rahm, Fitzpatrick, and Dunlap are together. Clark, Hovland, and Smith are together. Tiger is with Jason Day. I recognize that name. I recognize Jason Day.
I do too.
And then the group coming on right after Tiger has Dustin Johnson in it, as well as Colin. I'm not even going to... Actually, I'm going to try. I believe it's Morikawa. That's a cool last name. And Tommy Fleetwood. But the person who is the betting favorite to win the whole thing, his group was not highlighted, but that is Scotty Scheffler. I recognize his name as well. Mo, 1:24 p.m. tomorrow. I will be tuned in to see Tiger Woods.
You won't be alone. I'm going to be there, and my wife is going to do what she does. Go, I didn't know you watch golf. And I'm like,
I watch Tiger.
I watch Tiger. That's what I said. I was like, you know, I watch Tiger. We've been through this already.
And don't ask questions about it because I don't know what's going on either.
Yeah, please don't ask me like what's going on or what. I don't even know that.
Mo, we talked about it last week. Caitlin Clark was offered $5 million to play a handful of games in the Big 3 league. There was then discussion as to, would she be successful in that league? Would she even be able to score a point in that league? What would that look like? What would that do for her brand? $5 million, Mo, is a lot of money. Probably more than she's going to make her first few years in the WNBA. Maybe she should look into that. She has politely declined the opportunity to do so. And Mo, at the end of the day, I think it's probably the best for her. Not because I don't think she couldn't score, not because I don't think that she couldn't hold her own, but Mo, the Big 3 is not the NBA. And what I mean by that is there is a different level of decorum, if you will, that you're going to see in the big three as opposed to what you're going to see in the NBA. In the NBA, you are playing against a lot of millionaires. You are playing against a lot of people whose careers are already set or whose careers are going to be set by the time their NBA run is over. You're playing on a bigger stage. You're playing where there's more eyes watching you. I know that Caitlin Clark would bring eyes to the big three, Mo.
No doubt.
But I say all of that to say this. I think if she were to ever, or any woman, were to ever play in the NBA, you are going to see the NBA player in a nationally televised game with millions of eyeballs on it handle whoever the female athlete is differently than what she was going to see in the big three. In the big three, Mo, I think you were going to, and tell me if I'm wrong, but I think you were going to see a lot of guys say, nope, she's not doing it to me. I'm not going to make the Sports Center highlight tonight because she scored jumping over me. I'm not going to be the one guarding her when she sank a three from half court. She's not going to put a move on me and get to the basket. I'll put an elbow into her and knock her down. I don't give, I think you're going to see that in the big three. And you might have that mentality in the NBA. She's not going to do it to me. It's not going to be on me. But once you get out there, Mo, if you throw an elbow into Caitlin Clark in the NBA on national TV, you're hurting yourself. You would much rather her hit the three over you than you put an elbow into her throat and take her down.
Right.
I don't think there's the same level of respect that you're going to see in the big three. So for me, that's kind of where I stand. And it's nothing to do with, is she capable? Is she not capable? I just think you're going to get a little more of that aggressiveness and a little more of potentially a cheap shot in the big three.
Or even if you don't get a cheap shot, remember the big three, it's a half court game. So automatically it's a grind. They don't play full court. It's just half court. And it's more like organized street ball, Chris. It's organized street ball. Matter of fact, it's the closest to 90s basketball as you're probably going to get. That's how physical, it's that physical already. So I have to assume a lot of guys will be that much more aggressive and physical with her. Like offensively, I think she would be fine, but defensively, what if the guy she's guarding takes her into the post? I mean, it's just a more physical and aggressive game. And you're right. I don't think it's the same decorum that you would get in the NBA, right? The NBA is going to be a little bit more organized. And obviously this era of the NBA isn't as physical. If you get overly physical with their Chris, they're going to call fouls. Caitlin Clark's going to be shooting free throws. I think the big three wouldn't have benefited her brand in the bigger picture. It wouldn't have. She might not make as much money, obviously, because the WNBA doesn't give out huge contracts, but I think she'll do fine in endorsements. I think she'll be fine in endorsements because right now she's white hot. So I think she'll be fine. But I think it was a wise decision on her part to politely say thank you, Ice Cube, but no thank you. Because I don't think the big three elevates her in any way. I think if she's going to go out there, Chris, and play like that, then take your shot in the NBA. Try to play in the NBA, but I'm not going to go to the big three. And mind you, the big three is a league that's mostly composed of former NBA players. A lot of these guys are in their late 30s, early 40s. It's just a completely different style of basketball that doesn't benefit her.
No, 100%. Let's jump back to the NFL real quick. So we talked about this about a month and a half ago. We talked about the Baltimore Ravens and how they were finally going to give Lamar Jackson was finally going to take on more responsibility. He was going to start coming up with play concepts, and he was going to start, suggesting different ideas for the offense to run. And Mo, we sat here and we were like, he doesn't do that already? Like, right. Your franchise quarterback isn't already a critical part of your scheme and what you're running. And okay, that's weird. Maybe you shouldn't have put that out there because we all just kind of assumed he was, but now we find out he isn't, but he's ready to now. That was weird. But Baltimore is going to continue to push this narrative, Mo, because as the draft gears up, Harbaugh was talking about it yesterday, and he was talking about how they've given Lamar homework assignments, and he's going to, review the tape of some of these offensive players, and he's going to kind of break down, certain guys on offense and kind of give his intake and be a part of the draft process. Mo, I would have assumed he was already up doing this. I would have assumed that he was already looking at his team and saying, hey, we need a wide receiver. Let me go look at the draft class and let me say, hey, guys, I would love to work with boom, boom, and boom. If they're available, take a look at it. Apparently, he wasn't. So again, Mo, I try so hard not to hate on Lamar Jackson. And maybe this isn't a Lamar Jackson thing. Maybe this is more a Harbaugh thing. Maybe this is more a Ravens organization thing.
Right.
But Mo, why the hell isn't your franchise quarterback, the 2-time MVP, why isn't he already doing these things? Why isn't he already involved in all of these processes? And why are we hearing, what is he, year 5, year 6, year 7, that he's finally like starting to be involved in these things? It's weird to me. I don't get it.
And I don't get it either, because he's your franchise quarterback. And like you said, why wouldn't he be part of those conversations, those strategies? He has Mark Andrews, who's a terrific tight end, but obviously when you watch the Ravens, what they don't have a great red zone threat on the outside. Shouldn't he be the one to go, it'd really be really great if we get a guy that's about 6'2", 6'3", 40-inch vertical that can attack the ball in 50-50 situations, especially in the red zone. And I feel like the way they've handled Lamar, it's been more like, this is what we're doing, Lamar, this, and that. This is what we're bringing in. And he just kind of nods his head and go, let's ride, let's go. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think that if that is the case, then in some ways he might be his own enemy, because he's not more involved. He's not saying like, I don't think we need another running back. What I need is more talent on the outside. What I need is a more reliable threat that can move the chains. I need a bigger physical receiver that can get in the seams. So I was a little shocked that he's not in on that input, because I would say that I'm looking at Miami, and I'm sure Tua has conversations with his head coach about who they should bring in, who could help them, what would benefit Tua, anything to strengthen Tua and set Tua up for success. I guarantee you, since Arizona's committed to Kyler Murray, they're trying to do the same thing with this upcoming draft. Dallas has tried their best with Dak Prescott. I keep going. I've never heard of a franchise quarterback not being involved in those kind of conversations. That is weird to me as well. I don't get that. And the fact that I guess, why would they make that public?
Yeah, why are we talking about it? We
Right.
gave him homework. What?
Right. Why would you make that? To me, that's an in-house thing, like Lamar's got homework. Right. But only the team knows that. And only the team needs to know that. I don't get it.
It's weird. It's weird, and it's like, why isn't he already doing this? And I don't need to know it, because now I'm just like, was he not invested? And now he's grown and he wants to be invested, which is good. We like progress, we like growth. But I'm concerned that he wasn't invested before when he was clearly the franchise guy. Did you just not trust him before? And because it's not like there's been a regime change. Right. It's not like you had a GM and a coach in there that just didn't value the quarterback input, and now you've changed it out, and now they do. It's been all the same people. So what's changed, Mo?
I want to know what's going on in that quarterback room. What is that like? How do you not have and I get it. You should be able to have some kind of relationship with your offensive coordinator. You guys should be in sync in what you want to do in the system you want to run, and what guy we can bring in with a skill set that aligns itself with your skill set. To me, that's basic stuff, and it's just shocking to me that wasn't being done before. Maybe it's more impressive. The guy's a 2-time MVP, and and he wasn't really into his playbook. I didn't know that. That's unique.
That is unique.
That just means he's really more naturally gifted than I thought.
That's what Kyler was trying to do in Arizona. It just wasn't working out.
Right.
Mo, Bleacher Report released the rest of their top 50 WWE superstars of all time list. We left off at Triple H at 21, which I thought was an absolute joke. And then the rest of the list came out, and I just got more pissed off. CM Punk at 20. He shouldn't be higher than Triple H. Orton is 19. Guerrero's 18. Lesnar 17. Jericho 16. Don't know why they're all higher than Triple H. 15 was Mick Foley. 14 is Andre the Giant. Roman Reigns isn't even top 10. He's 13th. Rey Mysterio is 12th. Kurt Angle is 11th. Then we get to our top 10. 10 is Hulk Hogan. 9 is Roddy Piper. 8 is Shawn Michaels. The Rock is 7. Bruno Sammartino is 6. Interesting that Bruno and Hogan make the list. They have the first and third longest streaks as champion of all time.
Right.
But the guy who is 2 in Bob Backlund isn't even top 50. So apparently his 4-5 year run meant nothing as champion. He couldn't even get a top 50 spot. Cena is 5. Taker is 4. Macho Man is 3. Stone Cold is 2. Bret Hart is 1. I don't understand the Bret Hart love at 1. I love me some Bret Hart. I really, really do. But I wouldn't put him over Austin. I wouldn't put him over The Rock. I don't know if I would put him over Cena. You know, you're talking about guys that were in WWE longer than Bret Hart. They accomplished more in wrestling than Bret Hart. They were better on the mic than Bret Hart was. They moved merchandise better than Bret Hart did. Yes, Bret Hart is maybe one of the greatest technical wrestlers of all time, Mo, and he had a persona. But when you're in the penthouse and there's only 5 or 6 guys in there with you, you're going to nitpick. And Austin and Rock and these guys on the mic and their personas and the whole package, it was better than Bret. So I look at this list and I can't give it much credit, and I can't believe Bret's won.
All I can say is Bret Hart is my favorite wrestler of all time, and I know he shouldn't be number 1. I'm trying to figure out, you really think there's that big a gap between Bret Hart and Triple H? Because I actually wouldn't even have Bret Hart. Right. But I wouldn't even, as great as Bret is, I wouldn't have him ahead of Triple H. Like, I'm stunned that Triple H isn't in the top 5 or 6. You could have made a case for Triple H to be 1 or 2. Roddy Piper is an iconic wrestler, but why is he rated that high? Like, I don't think he was ever a heavyweight champion. He didn't win a lot of belts. He was a great persona, terrific on the mic, but in terms of his actual success and what he did, he's rated insanely high. I love Eddie Guerrero. I would not put Eddie Guerrero. You know what? I can use Triple H as my blueprint and just go, he shouldn't be ahead of him. He shouldn't be ahead. Right. I can basically make my argument just off of Triple H.
And again, you know, I'm not really a big Bob Backlund fan, but goddamn, what did he do to piss people off?
I don't know. What I remember about Bob Backlund, terrific wrestler, but he might have been one of the most boring guys in and out the ring. Just boring.
Listen, you know, was Bruno that much more exciting? I don't know.
Never saw Bruno. I saw highlights of Bruno.
I saw highlights, but I don't know.
It didn't look that interesting.
It did not look that interesting. Mo, great show on a Wednesday. Take us out, sir.
Hey, thank you everybody for joining Chris and I this morning. We appreciate your support. We appreciate you going on this journey with us. The Wire to Wire network is growing. So every time you guys sub us, follow us, and like us, that kind of support, that kind of love is greatly appreciated. Wire to Wire network, check us out.
Hey, make sure you're back here at the same time, same place tomorrow. JG will be back to talk a little more Major League Baseball. We are definitely going to discuss Jackson Holliday and his call up to the Baltimore Ravens. All of that and more. Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show powered by Wire